3 years ago, the Earth unexpectedly entered an era of spiritual energy rebirth. People began to actively explore new possibilities, and some acquired superhuman abilities. A young man faces betrayal from Lin, whom he considered his ally. He asks her what is happening now. The girl taunts her defeated opponent. Lin demonstrates absolute superiority as she prepares to deliver the finishing blow. Rin was playing with her blade boredly, waiting for Yudo, and then he appeared, walking straight through the air towards them on the roof. Yudo coldly confesses to killing Shinji's comrades. The man savors the moment, drawing out the final scene. Shinji clenches his fists, trying to rise. Drops of blood mix with the dirt, but his will is not broken. The man in the suit laughs at his efforts. He doesn't care whether the guy forgives him or not, because his plan ends very soon. He goes and kicks Shinji right off the roof of the building. Yudo screams that he wishes him a quick death. Shinji falls and sees a multitude of monsters waiting only for him to land quickly right into their open mouths. He remembers all his friends that he invited to the party. He understands that it was because of him that they died. Lin turns away indifferently, as if what is happening does not concern her. The girl is already mentally switching to new tasks. Before his death, Shinji vows to destroy the traitors. His final words echo across the empty battlefield. Shinji vows to take revenge on those who have wronged him in his next life. His voice trembles as his end approaches. The boy's body falls lifelessly into the monster's mouth. Darkness closes in on him, but somewhere in the depths of his consciousness, a strange light flashes. The mysterious system materializes before his eyes. Shinji carefully touches the holographic interface, feeling a tingling sensation in his fingers. Shinji woke up in the past, a month before the disaster. The young man looks around the familiar room in surprise, trying to understand what happened. The guy analyzes new possibilities. Memories of a past life suggest how to act more effectively. Shinji notices faint traces of spiritual energy in the air. No one else is aware of the impending changes. Shinji studies information about plant and animal mutations. He plans to collect rare spiritual fruits before chaos begins. Meteor showers and northern lights become harbingers of change. The young man notes each anomaly in his diary. The system offers to choose a path of development. Shinji confirms the decision without hesitation, recalling past mistakes. Shinji trains to control flames. The first sparks gradually turn into controlled flames. The purple crystal dissolves in the palm of his hand, filling his body with energy. The young man feels his physiology changing. The young man realizes that he has been given a second chance. His thoughts are focused on revenge and achieving absolute power. He breaks the purple crystal in his hand and gains all of its power, preparing to use it right here and now. Shinji demonstrates the power of the fire element. Yellow flames surround him, reflecting his incredible increase in power. Suddenly the phone rings. He sees the inscription, Tamura Lin, the same one who betrayed him in the future. He answers her, and on the phone Lin demands a large sum of money from the young man. The girl shouts irritably, expecting an immediate transfer. Shinji refuses abruptly, cutting off the dialogue. His cold tone shocks Rin, who is used to being submissive. Yudo is standing on the sidelines, mocking the situation. The man is holding the expensive bag that Rin demanded. Rin hangs up in a rage, leaving Shinji alone with his thoughts, her voice shaking with unexpected resistance. Yudo asks, "What's wrong? Did she make her walking wallet angry?" She replies that she doesn't understand what's happening. Lin and Yudo continue driving, flirting with each other while driving, while our guy is already somewhere planning his next steps. Shinji stands in front of yet another hospital, looking for his girlfriend. He's already been to 3, since he doesn't remember at all which one she's in. The boy recalls past events. Mika said that her father forced her to take a questionable medicine that destroyed the ice core. Shinji vows to right the wrongs of the past. He will protect not only her, but her spiritual energy as well. Mika is lying in a hospital ward with an abnormally low temperature. Doctors are perplexed by the unstable readings. Nurses fuss around the equipment. Mika's temperature continues to drop, despite all attempts to stabilize it. Dr. Lee studies the patient's medical history. The man suspects that Mika's condition is connected to spiritual energy, and her father nearby begs her to save his daughter. Dr. Lee asks Mika's father about the trip to Iceland. The man is worried, associating the illness with natural anomalies. He interrupts the conversation, declaring that there is an excess of energy. The girl needs to stick to the treatment and proper care before it is too late. Mika's father thanks the doctor from the bottom of his heart, and he, in turn, claims that this is just his job. Suddenly, the door opens in front of them and Shinji runs into the room, asking them to wait with the final diagnosis. They don't understand who it is. If the doctor doesn't have any students, then it's clearly none of them. Then who? The Med brothers try to throw Shinji out of the room. The guy confidently parries, demonstrating his knowledge of spiritual processes. Mickey's father listens to the warnings in panic. Shinji insists on stopping the standard treatment immediately. Dr. Lee is shocked by how the boy knows about spiritual energy. He demands an explanation, but Shinji refuses to reveal the sources of his information. Shinji says that it doesn't matter who he is or how he knows about all this. The important thing now is to make the girl wake up. The doctor, surrounded by many doctors, asks what suggestions this young man might have for treating the girl. He offers a recipe to wake Mickey up, his calm contrasting with Dr. Lee's confusion. The list of ingredients mentions rare herbs. The doctors listen carefully, remembering every detail. Dr. Lee is shocked by the accuracy of the recipe. The man doubts that the young man could have learned about Eastern medicine, and his recipe is identical to the doctor's. But the guy insists on adding Stardew. The flower is considered mythical, which causes more controversy. Dr. Lee rejects the idea of using the legendary flower. He mentions that this flower cannot be found anywhere in the world. The other medical workers are shocked and doubtful. This boy with such knowledge couldn't possibly have said some nonsense after his brilliant proposal. Mika's father begs them to find a solution. He is ready to pay any amount of money so that they can buy this flower for his daughter. But the doctor refuses, explaining that this flower is so rare and powerful that it is not sold anywhere in the world. The doctor begins to describe the Stardew flower. Blue petals and silver pollen glow on the screen. Dr. Lee recalls ancient texts. The man does not believe that the flower survived after the disappearance of spiritual energy. But Mika's father asks the young man, does this mean that his daughter will always be in this state? The young man replies that he shouldn't doubt him. He will find the right medicine and Mika will leave the hospital without a single scar. Dr. Lee asks if Shinji really wants to get the flower, to which he replies that this is exactly what he wants to do. In the medical ward, the young doctor discusses with the old one the strangeness of the situation and the possible luck, rather than Shinji's knowledge. Dr. Lee's attitude changes abruptly. After seeing the knowledge about the flower, he doubts the nonsense of the treatment proposed by Shinji. The young man asks the system to open an exchange point for his points for some item to find the plant he needs. The system offers to exchange points for Stardew. Shinji confirms the transaction without hesitation. Shinji shows the Stardew flower in the box. It only cost him 5 experience points. Everyone around is shocked by how quickly the young guy got this legendary flower, and where did he get it from? He asks, do the doctors believe him now? Dr. Lee has to apologize to him and ask him to treat the girl with this flower. The guy comes to her room and sees a girl who has been unconscious for a long time. All the doctors and Mickey's father have gathered around them. Shinji promises that in this life he will not allow anyone to hurt her or cause her harm. He takes out a blue flower that decorates the entire room with its glow, and the guy himself turns into a man shining with energy. When the magic flower is brought to the girl's body, it all begins to glow with blue energy and gradually return to life. Mika's temperature starts to rise. The nurses check the sensors in a panic, not believing their eyes. Mika moves her fingers weakly and opens her eyes. She recognizes him, and everyone around is happy that the girl has awakened. Shinji warns of the need for rest, his voice firm but relieved. Mika has fully recovered from the treatment. Her father thanks Shinji, barely holding back tears of relief. Dr. Lee relays the recommendations for further care. He asks the protagonist to stay and drink tea, but he refuses. In response to this refusal, Dr. Lee and Father Mika ask the protagonist to at least state his name, so that they know what the hero's name is. He says goodbye to them and introduces himself at the end. His name is Fuji Shinji. After some time at home, the guy studies websites, trying to find one that describes all the stages of cultivation. The system screen displays information about the cultivation levels. Shinji studies the description of each stage. He remembers that in the world where he died, there was a war for spiritual energy. When Shinji died, he was only at level 3. We see a lot of drops and splashes of water, as well as a plant that grows on the surface of the water. Shinji meditates in an abandoned temple, contemplating his new fire abilities. Yellow flashes of energy surround his body. In this life, Shinji wants to devote himself entirely to cultivation and reach the highest level. Dr. Lee reports Mickey's case to an influential sponsor. The man in the suit orders the boy's potential to be tested. He explains to Mr. Liu that in the future, as he increases his energy, this guy will cultivate so much energy that he will be able to change the future. The man gives his henchwoman Yu the task of monitoring the strength and capabilities of this young man. Red Hair talks to Dr. Lee about how if this is true, then this guy would be an excellent discovery. The system records the transition to the second level. Control over spiritual energy is strengthened after the first cultivation. Colorful sparks of energy merge into a spiral. The air around vibrates, heralding a breakthrough in training. The guy thinks, why is the water so dirty if he hasn't washed himself for only one day? This makes him very sad. He jumps out of the water and runs around the room with bare feet, talking about how hungry he is and how he urgently needs to eat. Shinji thinks about going to a convenience store. The fatigue from training makes him eat 3 packs of noodles at once in the future. Yu watches him from the height of a street lamp. The man walks down the street and whistles a tune, not noticing anyone around him. She looks at his photo and checks with a stranger on the street. Finally, she realizes that he is her target. Yu throws some kind of purple disc right towards our protagonist, her strength showing that her skills are clearly above the level of a normal fighter. Shinji turns around to see a purple explosion right behind him, smoke appearing around him. Suddenly, a monster appears from this smoke, just like the one that ate him in the beginning, and is preparing to bite him. Shinji shoots his gaze at the monster and realizes that the mutations have already begun at this time, and their child is in front of him. The monster roars at the protagonist, leaving behind a shockwave capable of rupturing eardrums. Shinji covers his face, realizing it's a dog, and its mouth stinks pretty bad. Yu watches Shinji struggle from cover. He dodges multiple attacks from the mutated dog and attacks back. Violet sparks of energy form a glow. The young man practices a blow that leaves cracks in the stone block. In response, the mutant hits him with his purple spiked tail, filled with fire and energy. It's hard to dodge. But Shinji manages to do it with great effort and stands in front of the dog, looking at its mutated body and glowing eyes. He tenses up, preparing for an attack from the monster. The guy thinks how to get close and defeat first the mutant, and then the girl behind him. Suddenly, a crazy idea comes to his mind, connected with his new abilities. He jumps sharply upwards from the ground. He threatens to grill the dog and his hand lights up in flames, foreshadowing a brutal blow to the mutant. Shinji uses the Flame Emperor Fist technique. The air explodes from the impact, incinerating the mutated creature. A fiery spiral swirls around his hand. The monster spits blood from the force and energy of the fiery strike. Yu looks at this in shock, not understanding what happened and how. How could this young man defeat her mutant? He pulls his fiery hand out of the monster's body, burning everything in its path and sending tongues of flame around. Shinji turns to the girl and says that she is weak for him. His hand is already starting to cool down a little. After the battle, Shinji feels a ravenous hunger. He hurries to the store, as he wanted from the very beginning of his journey. The spy girl doesn't understand how this boy was able to defeat the mutant beast with just one blow. She discusses how easy it is for him to activate the fire attribute, which has the strongest attack of all the elements. The girl runs up to the beast's body and can't believe her eyes. What happened here defies explanation. She sees the animal's broken tail and doesn't understand how this could have happened. Except maybe that time. That time, when the tail hit, our main character did not dodge, but rather used his body to repel the monster's attack, breaking its tail. The mutant's tail fragment is to be examined in the lab. You can't figure out how hard his body is to do that. Waking up early and looking in the mirror, Shinji feels pain all over his body. This means that he is far from perfect and will need to train more. Breaking news reports of an anomaly on Mount Shiranui. Temperatures reach critical levels, forcing evacuations. Shinji attributes the surge to the awakening of spiritual energy and decides to speed up preparations while the zone is accessible. He grabs his things and runs faster to the scene to gather as much strong spiritual energy as possible. Suddenly, he meets a girl on the street who calls out to him. It turns out to be that same Lin. She demands money, threatening to end the relationship, her voice shaking with rage when Shinji refuses to pay. Shinji leaves, leaving the girl alone. He advises her to go to the hospital instead of bothering him. Rin accuses Shinji of being selfish, saying that if he doesn't pay, she will truly disappear from his life forever. He shouts at her to get out and never show him her face again. His decision is final. Now nothing will distract him from his main goal. A group of hikers argue at the foot of a mountain. One of them insists on continuing on despite temperature warnings. The air trembles with heat, creating a mirage on the horizon. Shinji watches the situation, assessing the risks of climbing. Police are warning people about 81-degree heat right on the mountain, using their bodies to create barricades for those who are too curious. Tensions mount when the argument turns physical. People around try to separate the conflicting parties. One of them throws corn into the fire and it immediately turns into popcorn due to the abnormally strong heat there. Suddenly all the idiots realize that they weren't lied to and it really is very hot there. The guy sits on top of the bus and understands that this place is really filled with strong fire energy. Pushes off the bus and flies straight instead of the anomaly. If he can suck in all the energy, he will reach a new level. He lands on his arm and the rest of his limbs right in the center of the anomaly. The police officers around are shocked by the boy's behavior and don't understand how to help him. The system detects an abnormal surge in power. The guy feels the energy penetrate every cell, transforming the body. Shinji concentrates the fiery energy in his palms. The purple waves of flame absorb the surrounding heat, strengthening his aura. The hot rocks beneath his feet melt into glassy patterns. Shinji smiles, realizing a new level of control. The crowd pulls each other away from the edge of the anomaly in panic. Her voice breaks from fear, but the young man continues the risky maneuver. Shinji turns and realizes that he has attracted too much attention, sucking out all the energy and heat from the area. Shinji hides in the shadows of the rocks, avoiding the attention of the crowd. His clothes are covered in ash, but his eyes are blazing with determination. Tourists discuss the unexplained cold snap. Their cameras captured only a fleeting shadow among the clouds of steam. A girl shows a video of a flickering silhouette. Viewers argue, a deity, an alien, or a hallucination from overheating. Reporters compare Shinji to legendary cultivators. Footage of Mount Shiranui is broadcast on all news channels. The red-haired man discusses with his servant the abilities of this guy that he showed today and how he deftly knocked out the mutant. He looks at his card and thinks that he should have been recruited into their organization faster. An influential man in a suit gives orders to his subordinates. Find Fuji Shinji. Sounds like a death sentence. He says that he must meet with him soon, and his subordinate Yu agrees with his order. Shinji shows progress, reaching the second level of cultivation. His aura pulses yellow, reflecting his increased control over energy. The system screen displays updated parameters. The guy studies the new possibilities, planning further training. The system marks the achievement of the level with a notification. The young man smiles, feeling a surge of strength and readiness for new challenges. Shinji experiments with creating a weapon out of spiritual energy. A blade with a scarlet glow around the edges forms in his hands. The system offers weapon evolution options. The guy chooses a sword, strengthening its blade with a concentration of the fire element. Satisfied with the result, the young man dissolves the weapon. His thoughts are already occupied with finding materials to improve the arsenal. Suddenly he hears some noise and turns to the source of the noise. He asks who came to him in the middle of the night. The strangers in suits approach Shinji. Their leader asks a direct question, checking the data against the portrait on the tablet screen. Shinji clenches his fist warily as the man next to him explains the purpose of the visit, to discuss joining the Cultivators Association. The young man remembers something about that organization. His gaze slides over the hologram of the system, searching for information about the interlocutors. He remembers how in the past he and Miko were helped by a red-haired girl with strong abilities, capable of levitation. That time the conversation is interrupted by a message about a new task. Now Shinji is sure that there will be no help, and he will have to do everything himself. He asks how they knew about him. The red-haired man says he heard how he helped cure a girl. Mika is mentioned as a new member of the association. He thinks that it seems that these two people do not pose any particular danger to him. After some time, the three of them talk about whether Shinji is sure that he doesn't want to join them. He replies that no organization is suitable for him. The guy says that he needs to train himself first to fully restore his spiritual energy. An association representative explains the benefits of membership, backed up by examples of other cultivators growing rapidly. Shinji listens, arms crossed. Memories of his past life make him cautious, but the arguments are convincing. Statistics are shown on the screen. 3 years without progress versus a year with support. The guy notes the manipulative nature of the data. Now they are both waiting for the outcome of the negotiations to adjust their further actions. Yu wants the guy to join the association. Shinji asks about the girl's age. Yu answers and asks a counter question. Why does he care about this? He doesn't want to offend her and call her a girl without talent, so he says out loud that she's a great girl. The representative of the association boasts about the exclusivity of the members. The young man notices the anxiety in the eyes of the assistant next to him. The red-haired man talks about the many privileges that will be available to him after joining. Suddenly, he gets a call and asks for a minute to talk on the phone. Some urgent news. An emergency report of a mutant interrupts the negotiations. Shinji sees panic in the eyes of the association representative. The data about the poisonous snake is displayed on the hologram. The man is shocked by the snake's level. It is level 2. Its element is poison. The association leader gives the order to lock down the area. His assistant relays the coordinates, avoiding eye contact with Shinji. The discussion is interrupted by the need for action. The young man remains in the hall, studying the map with the mutants' movement marks. He watches them go and thinks that in this life he should not repeat the many mistakes of the past. Strange thunderclaps without rain frighten the residents. The owner of the house calls Shinji in a panic, describing the anomaly as a curse. Lightning constantly strikes a certain spot behind the mountain. The young man analyzes the system data, discovering traces of a rare attribute of spiritual energy. Shinji agrees to help. Before leaving, he checks the crystal supply, preparing to encounter an unknown phenomenon. Koto shows Shinji security footage of lightning forming ancient symbols on the mountainside. The young man associates the anomaly with the awakening of the elements. His fingers quickly scroll through the system hologram, comparing the data with the legends. Shinji warns of danger. The man points out cases of cultivators dying while trying to harness lightning. Shinji ignores the warnings. His decision is firm, to obtain the legendary attribute to increase his power. The system confirms the ability to obtain the lightning attribute. Shinji activates the energy absorption mode, tuning into the resonance. The boys argue about the feasibility of the mission. Their dialogue is interrupted when the ground beneath their feet begins to vibrate from the charges. We see 2 guys and a woman's shoe who tells them that today is their first mission. One of the guys jumps up and asks Mrs. Kaori what they are going to do and where they are going. Kaori discusses tactics with the boys. The girl points to the area of maximum energy concentration marked on the map. The world continues to adapt to the revived spiritual energy. Shinji studies the system's new capabilities, noting his own abilities have grown. He sees bursts of energy, but the young man ignores them, focusing on analyzing the energy patterns. The achievements are marked by the system, but Shinji is already setting his next goal, mastering rare attributes. The system warns of the risks of absorbing lightning energy. Shinji confirms the action despite the double load. The hologram demonstrates the lightning flash technique. The guy feels a tingling sensation in his fingertips from the clots of energy. Acquiring the skill is accompanied by a flash of blue light. Shinji smiles, appreciating the potential of the new skill. Shinji watches the process, noting the instability of the energy flows. The air smells of ozone, and his hair stands on end. Meanwhile, we see Kaori and the 2 boys standing with a powerful burst of lightning energy right in front of them. Kaori demonstrates a thermos for collecting energy. Her assistant questions the safety of the device, examining cracks in the casing. The tension mounts as Kaori demands the device be handed over. Her voice trembles, but her hands remain calm, holding the device. She stands up and holds the device straight out towards the energy, and it quickly begins to enter the capsule. Flashes of lightning, energy, and light form around them. But that's not all. There's still a lot of energy to absorb later. The guys support their commander, surprised at how deftly and quickly she absorbs all this energy. The thermos cracks, unable to withstand the load. Kaori retreats in panic, and her assistant freezes, eyes wide. She doesn't understand how the spiritual collector couldn't contain all the energy. This is how powerful all this lightning is. One of the guys jumps on Kaori to push her away from the massive explosion that happened right in front of her. The system detects an abnormal power surge. Lightning strikes around have become more powerful and more frequent. With the energy out of control, The group evacuates, leaving the broken equipment right there. Suddenly, one of them notices something moving in the grass and looks there, not expecting to see anyone but them. They notice a civilian in this dangerous territory and are left confused. What is he doing here? This guy turns out to be our main character Shinji, and Kaori screams at him to leave the area, but the boy remains in place. Her words are lost in the roar of thunder, and her gestures express despair and fear. The young man does not react to the threats. His gaze is fixed on the hologram, showing the level of energy absorbed. The entire group watches in amazement as this stranger strives towards this energy that just nearly killed them with one explosion. At this time, Shinji runs straight into the epicenter of lightning, smiling at the fact that he will soon receive a new attribute and a lot of experience to gain a new level of power. Kaori watches in shock as Shinji harnesses the lightning. Her assistant drops the device in disbelief. The energy cocoon around the boy pulses with a bright blue light. The air fills with static, causing his hair to move. The system completes its analysis. The lightning attack has been successfully integrated. Shinji takes the first step towards a new level of power. Shinji vows to become invincible, his shadow cast by lightning appearing gigantic against the night sky. The system hologram flashes green. The goal has been achieved. Shinji opens his mouth and lightning passes through it, giving him new powers. He rises to the heavens, engulfed by lightning and receiving no harm from it to his body. He feels new strength and looks at his hands, engulfed in energy and electricity. Now he has become stronger. The system suggests combining two types of spiritual energy to attack. His fingers quickly scroll through the hologram with calculations, choosing the optimal balance. He agrees and two different energies enter him, releasing new fighting style techniques and new capabilities of our protagonist's spiritual power. Shinji analyzes the anomaly through the system. The data confirms that it is a legendary attribute that can change the balance of power. After some time, the red-haired man's men discover a giant mutant snake writhing among the rocks. Its scales emit a poisonous glow, mixing with rainbow flashes of spiritual energy. You hands the boys a jade shard. The artifact emits a soft light, creating a protective field around the boy. The guy tests the ball's reaction to toxic fumes. The green barrier neutralizes some of the toxins, confirming its effectiveness. Before the mission begins, the group synchronizes their equipment. Yu masks his aura, preparing for a stealthy approach. She orders them to begin the mission, and they are ready to find and kill this snake. The whole team enters through the gates into some hangar. It's dark all around, and you can't see anything at all. However, very soon you notices the red glow of eyes in the darkness and depths of the hangar. Someone screams to turn around, but it's too late. A powerful blow with a green aura knocks the entire team off their feet. The snake was revealed in all its glory, a green scaly creature with red eyes showing off its fangs for everyone in the room. Both guys throw some spears straight at the snake, thinking that this will help them resist it. Suddenly, the snake is completely covered in ice and freezes in the middle of the room in a strange pose. The guys are happy. I think they caught this viper and are ready to just finish her off. She's here and now. But Yu is no pushover and understands that everything is bad. She shouts for the rest of the group to run and runs away from the snake herself. The snake effortlessly frees itself from the ice, releasing its green poison into everyone around it. By a lucky chance, this liquid and steam immediately hits our guys, knocking their legs out of their wits and causing them to quickly fall asleep on the floor. The girl urgently tries to contact headquarters and wants to tell them something about the green snake. But she doesn't have time to finish speaking, falling asleep, just like her comrades, because it's unlikely that you can get rid of respiratory poison with just your hands. In the last page of this chapter, we see a snake coiled around the girl's body, its tongue sticking out, ready to devour Yu's body. The action shifts to night near some trailer. In it, someone is explaining the situation to Shinji. Inside it, the red-haired man is talking to Shinji. I show him the monitor screen and say that he is the only one who can help them. Chairman Liu mentions the rare fire attribute that Shinji has awakened, his words revealing his covert observation of the youth's actions. He mentions a green snake that has a poison attribute that it can use to spray around, and that took out a couple of his men back in the hangar. Shinji is wary of the surveillance and demands that the monitoring stop as a condition for agreeing to the mission. Liu apologizes, citing safety concerns, and relief flashes in his eyes as Shinji accepts the mission. He also apologizes for sending the mutant dog back then, and how surprised he was that Shinji was able to defeat it with ease. Shinji learns of the provocation with the mutant dog. His voice sounds cold, but his posture remains relaxed, demonstrating control. He says that this situation was humiliating for them as people who were involved in serious business. Lu tries to smooth over the conflict by offering support. The young man refuses help, confident in his own abilities. On the table between them lies a map of the plant. Shinji marks the snake's area of activity, ignoring his interlocutor's nervous glances. Lu insists on reinforcements. Shinji cuts him off abruptly, showing disdain for the resources being offered. Shinji leaves the office without looking back, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway, emphasizing the finality of his decision. Next we move on to the hangar and you locked in it, who barely opens her eyes, slowly dying from the poison. A giant snake is devouring cultivators in an attempt to evolve. Its scales emit a poisonous green glow, filling the workshop with a toxic fog. Yu analyzes attack patterns across the system. The data shows a critical threat level for the entire region. Yu panics, relaying the coordinates of the weak points. Her voice breaks as the snake abruptly changes its trajectory. She attacks her directly, releasing more green poisonous mist. Yu stands in front of her in shock and doesn't know what to do. But at the last second, she activates her ice weapon right on her hand and jumps towards the snake, intending to hit it quickly and accurately. And she manages to hit the snake in the area near the head, releasing the mutant snake's purple blood out. Well, before I can hit the target completely, the icy shard of her hand breaks. She opens her eyes wide and is surprised. Now nothing can help her anymore. The snake quickly strikes the girl and she flies to the ground, probably with several broken bones. She watches the snake evolve in despair. Yu drops the device as the monster begins to absorb spiritual energy from the walls. The system warns of overload. The girl ignores the signal, focusing on finding the core of the creature. Shinji recognizes the abandoned factory. The memory of unpaid wages brings an ironic smile, but does not distract from the goal. The girl recognizes him and is shocked at how he ended up there and who sent him to help them. He finds the team members locked up, their faces pale and their equipment scattered in chaos, indicating a mission failure. The guy activates the attribute, lighting up the room. The shadows of the snake on the walls seem larger than the threat itself. The wounded cultivator begs Shinji to flee, believing that he cannot defeat an opponent like the snake. The boy ignores the warning, slowly approaching the source of the roar. Nothing frightens him. In front of him stands a snake that has already evolved, and he stands before it without a single hint of fear on his face. The snake strikes, destroying the supports. Shinji thinks to parry the blow, leaving a charred mark on the enemy's scales. Yu screams at him to back off, but the boy concentrates energy in his palms. The air crackles with static, and the shadows on the walls distort under the influence of the elements. Lightning bolts of energy begin to pulse around his body. The air fills with the smell of ozone, mixing with toxic fumes. Shinji faces the attack in a darkened area. The lightning surrounding his body flares brighter, dispersing the clouds of poisonous mist. The lightning strike burns through the snake's scales, exposing a weak spot. Shinji reacts instantly, sending a second bolt straight to the target. The mutant snake wriggles, trying to hide in the crack. Its movements become chaotic, and its poisonous glow fades under the onslaught of attacks. Shinji blocks the path by creating a fire trap. The flames merge with lightning to form a deadly spiral around the enemy. Yu watches in shock as the monster loses control. Her fingers tighten around the barrier amulet, but she no longer needs help. He tells the girl not to worry about the snake running away somewhere else and takes hold of the hilt of the sword behind his back. Shinji takes it out and holds it out in front of him, extending his hands towards it and imbuing the weapon with lightning and fire energy. He looks at his target with fury, and we see lightning shooting out of his fiery eyes. His powers are becoming more and more powerful. Shinji displays two attributes at once. Waves of fire and lightning dance around him, confirming his incredible progress. With one blow he finished off the snake, and now all that was left for him to do was to move on, far away from here. Yu drops the measuring device. Her voice trembles. Even the association doesn't have one like that. The assistant silently records the data, avoiding direct eye contact. The young man calmly deactivates the skills. Thoughts about future missions are already crowding out the current victory. The association is analyzing data on Shinji. The holograms show abnormal energy spikes that don't fit into standard graphs. Lu looks over the report, pinching the bridge of his nose. His assistant whispers if he joins the rivals, but the sentence remains unfinished. A recording of the battle appears on the screen. The silence in the room is broken only by the hum of the servers. At the meeting, they decide to stop spying on Shinji. Lu insists he will come himself when he is ready. Yu, a junior agent, is given the task of making contact. Lu says that she should become this boy's girlfriend. The system studies data on the awakening of spiritual energy. The system identifies zones of anomalies where new control methods are planned to be tested. Their goal is to understand the patterns of energy distribution. Many also talk about the need to notify residents about the appearance of energy. But on the other hand, there are opinions that this cannot be done. After all, there is a risk of sowing panic among all residents. The debate continues, with one side saying that warning could have avoided many casualties. But a police officer says the incident at the factory was successfully resolved without any public notification. The red-haired man looks at all this and is shocked by how adults cannot agree among themselves, even though he understands that the situation is difficult. He shouts loudly that everyone should be silent, and everyone becomes silent, waiting for what the master will say. Lu leads a meeting discussing the implications of revealing information about spiritual energy. His voice is tense but confident. Shinji is mentioned as a key participant in the events. Those present argue about the balance between safety and panic of the population. The suggestion to use anomalous zones for testing evokes mixed reactions. The guy writes down the arguments, avoiding direct comments. The map shows energy awakening points. Lu suggests turning them into research sites, observing the public's reaction. The man analyzes risks through the system. The data shows a potential increase in conflicts, but the young man remains neutral. Many support the idea, noting the possibility of collecting data. And the assistant silently adjusts the parameters of the hologram. Lu insists on Shinji's inclusion in the association. The debate over his rank divides the meeting into two camps. Shinji mentions the awakening of two attributes, shocking his opponents. Yudo is in the corner, whispering to Rin, he's more dangerous than he looks. The decision to conduct the test is unanimous. Lu hides a smile, anticipating new possibilities. Shinji's test is designed as a test of skills. The conditions include areas with unstable energy and interaction with newcomers. The young man looks over the requirements, frowning skeptically. The system highlights the weak points in the plan, but he decides to participate. Lu smiles and pretends that they themselves chose Shinji to be included in the organization. His plan went as planned. Shinji wakes up early in the morning and hears some noise that distracts him from sleep. He is confronted with the theft of food. His face remains impassive, but the energy around him pulses slightly, betraying his irritation. Now he goes and thinks that he is already poor, and now a thief in his house can steal the last thing he has. He opens the door and prepares to beat this thief who dared to climb into his beggarly apartment. His face is full of rage. Yu appears at Shinji's house under the guise of cooperation, her calm tone contrasting with her tense posture. Shinji demands an explanation. He thinks she was sent again because she was spying on him and is furious. The girl reveals that she was sent to live with him, but hides the association's true motives. Lu hands Shinji the test requirements. Shinji flips through the documents, noting discrepancies between the stated goals and the actual tasks. Mika is mentioned as a participant. Shinji's attitude changes abruptly, agreeing to the test. His gaze becomes colder. Yu notices the change in behavior. Her fingers quickly type out a message while the boy studies the map of the location. The test details include low energy zones. Shinji doubts their safety, but hides his thoughts behind a mask of indifference. Mika appears on the list of participants. The young man involuntarily clenches his fist, remembering her connection with the association. Yu notices his reaction. Her questions remain unanswered, but she writes down her observations for the report. The test participants gather in the training area. Lu glances at everyone. His presence was the deciding factor for participation. The testing program is interrupted by an announcement of impending cataclysms. The man watches as excitement engulfs the group, but he remains unperturbed. The Lord explains to everyone that today he will introduce X to one of the most powerful cultivators so that he will become their captain. Kaori wonders where he went. She indulges in memories from the past. She remembers her conversation with one guy and how he disappeared in lightning. Her interlocutor says that it is impossible. Suddenly, a guy with tattoos on his arms distracts her and asks what she is thinking about. Kaori makes a warning gesture to Yoshii, but he demonstratively turns away. She says that she is waiting for the captain, and she is interested in what he is like. Yoshii stretches his arms in preparation for meeting the captain. His mocking comments about the rich kid make some of the crew laugh. He raises the spirit of the fighting team and says that he will show the new captain who is strong and cool here. The team's composition is displayed on a hologram. The system highlights the profile of Yoshii, a former criminal with the wind attribute and a tendency toward rebellion. Shinji studies the weaknesses of his subordinates, focusing on tactics to neutralize threats without direct conflict. Finally, they arrive, and the red-haired man introduces all the cadets to their new captain. Shinji stops a meter away from everyone. Purple sparks of energy extinguish the gusts of wind, creating a zone of silence around them. Mika looks at him and thinks that this is most likely the same guy who helped her in the hospital. Kaori realizes that it is he, the same guy who disappeared in the lightning back then. She realizes that he is a truly powerful cultivator. Lu continues to introduce him, but suddenly someone from the crowd starts shouting, distracting everyone from the ceremony. The red-haired gentleman realizes that it is Yoshi shouting and asks, "What is the problem?" Yoshii attacks first. He asks if the master is confident in this man's abilities, since he looks very weak and no one will listen to him. Our main character smiles and asks if Yoshi wants to test him, to which he says that of course he would like to test the abilities of this weakling. Shinji ignores the taunts about his power level, his gaze cold and his hands clenched into fists, ready to answer the challenge. Yoshii provokes Shinji by waving his arms, his face contorted in a grimace of aggression, his voice drowning out the sound of the wind. The boy remains calm, assessing his opponent's movements. Lightning bolts of energy flicker faintly at his fingertips. The conflict scene is cut short by a sharp gust of wind. The group freezes, waiting for the captain's reaction. The red-haired gentleman stops Yoshi by grabbing his fist at the last second before contact with Shinji. He says that Yoshi is going to defend the honor and people of the association later. If not, then why does he hit the new captain? He backs away and makes excuses about how he wanted the new captain to show his abilities. The association members debate Shinji's competence. Some admire his feat with the snake, others call it luck. Lu interrupts the discussion with a reminder of discipline. His authoritative tone silences the room. He talks about how the young captain saved you by defeating a giant snake single-handedly. Everyone is shocked and doesn't believe the battle. The briefing begins with a warning of mortal danger. Kaori points to a hologram of the spiked beast. Shinji studies the combat tactics, noting the creature's weak points. His fingers glide over the system's interface, adjusting his strategy. The group whispers nervously. Yoshii grins, ignoring the safety rules. The team arrives at an area with abnormal energy. Shinji scans the area, but finds no trace of the monster. Yoshii insists on immediate action, his impatience contrasting with the caution of the other participants. The guy notices strange vibrations underground. The system records hidden energy impulses. Mika looks around anxiously, feeling a growing threat. Something is wrong around her, but she doesn't understand what exactly. The energy around the trunk pulses brighter with each step the rebel takes. Everything around shines, and energy flows from everywhere. Shinji forbids approaching the ancient tree. His voice sounds harsh, but Yoshii demonstratively ignores the order. Yoshii makes fun of Shinji's caution, and his jokes about a walking tree elicit nervous laughter from some of the crew. The boy ignores the provocations, giving clear orders. Lightning bolts of energy form a barrier around the group. Yoshi was sent to look for traces of the monster, her fingers trembling as she touched the tree bark. Yoshii is preoccupied with the thought of leveling up. His hands touch the trunk, trying to absorb the energy of the tree. The branches suddenly move, dropping leaves. Shinji turns around abruptly, feeling an ancient power awakening. Yoshi gets excited thinking about the girls that will shine for him after leveling up with this tree. They sit around this tree and try so hard to absorb all this energy. Mika asks Shinji about the safety of the team. Her voice trembles, but the boy answers confidently, hiding the tension. Shinji continues his risky experiment with the tree. The young man watches him, ready to intervene at any moment. Shinji listens to reproaches about the events on the mountain. His interlocutor is irritated, but the young man remains calm, avoiding direct conflict. Lightning bolts of energy are barely noticeable around his hands, betraying the tension within. The apology sounds formal, but his gaze remains cold and distant. The conversation is cut short by a system beep. Shinji uses this as an excuse to leave the conversation, leaving his opponent confused. The training area is filled with thick spiritual energy. Shinji encourages the team to use resources, but he himself remains on the sidelines. The girl mocks his passivity. The guy ignores the provocations, analyzing the energy flows through the system interface. Mika joins the group, her ice attribute creating a contrast with the heat of the surrounding elements. The tree suddenly comes to life, grabbing the team member with its branches. Cries for help echo through the forest, mixing with the sound of branches breaking. Shinji reacts instantly, sending lightning bolts into the base of the tree. The sparks burn through the bark, causing the tree to loosen its grip. Yoshii freezes in indecision, his bravado disappearing in the face of a real threat. A wounded participant crawls to safety, his face contorted with fear, his clothes torn and his hands shaking with adrenaline. Yoshi creates a wind barrier, cutting off the ancient monster's path. Kaori throws a healing amulet, stabilizing the victim's condition. Yoshii finally enters the fight, but his wind attacks only slow the enemy down slightly. One of the group members tells Yoshi to be careful and look around, but he doesn't have time and is suddenly cut by a branch. Lu's warning becomes reality. The tree's branches transform into thorny tentacles, attacking the group from all sides. Yoshii is pinned to the ground, his confidence shattered, eyes wide as the spike heads for his chest. Shinji intercepts the attack, sacrificing his protective barrier. Lightning envelopes the enemy, forcing them to retreat deeper into the forest. Yoshi sits up and hisses angrily that it's him again. It's that nasty Shinji in front of him. Shinji gives the order to retreat. His voice is firm, because behind him are the people he protects. The rescued fighter trembles, clinging to Shinji's sleeve, gratitude in his eyes mixed with the remnants of horror. His voice is firm, drowning out the roar of the monster. To betray one's own is an eternal shame. Yoshii, overwhelmed by the captain's strength, falls silent for the first time. Waves of energy shake the ground, but the group unites. The young man's determination becomes a shield for everyone. Shinji steps in front of the oncoming threat, protecting his comrades. Lightning and flames weave around his hands, creating a glowing barrier. The young man nods silently, looking away to the smoke on the horizon. Purple sparks fly into the tree, protecting the team above all else. A group member caught in a tree shouts words of gratitude to the team captain. Kaori screams as the ancient tree awakens, causing branches to snap, revealing thorny tentacles. Shinji rushes forward, leaving a trail of fire behind him. Yoshii, overcoming his fear, follows him, clutching the blades of wind. The ground rises in waves. The team freezes, realizing that the battle has only just begun. It turns out to be a level 3 monster that rose from the ground and is essentially a living tree. The whole team is in shock. They didn't expect to see him here, especially to run into him so quickly. Lu's words stop the newcomer in their tracks with an icy tone. A coward will not survive in the cultivation world. A heavy silence hangs in the hall. Shinji breaks the silence, striding toward the center. Fear is not weakness. Mindless courage is death. His words balance between challenge and encouragement. Yoshii clenches his fists, thinking for the first time about the cost of his apparent fearlessness. Edie dodges the tree monster's attack and jumps forward to attack it the next second. But the tree saw this desire and immediately raised its hands to strike back. This blow will kill our hero if it hits. During the strike, the trees also send a bunch of their sharp branches into our protagonist Shinji's body. The main character activates his fire barrier, incinerating all the branches that were directed at him. The tree monster is in shock. The fiery energy of the protagonist is crawling along his hand, trying to saw him off completely. The next second, Cindy activates lightning on his hands, and now his technique has 2 energies. He strikes his technique into the back of the fleeing ancient monster, who was not prepared for such a strong opponent. Shinji's lightning strike burns through the ancient tree, leaving a smoking crater in its wake. Yoshii falls to his knees, not believing his eyes. How is this possible? He whispers, looking at the gigantic wreckage. Kaori frantically writes down the data, her fingers shaking. The attack has exceeded all the system's predictions. Shinji analyzes the battle plan by the fire. The firelight highlights the weariness on his face, hidden behind a mask of determination. Mika looks at him in silent admiration. Her gaze speaks louder than words. He is now their true leader. In the data center, Many people who watch the fight analyze Shinji's strength and are shocked by it. Lu slams his slammer on the table, cutting off the argument. Shinji has proven his right to lead you. The room falls silent. The earth suddenly shakes. Holograms turn scarlet as spiritual energy explodes out of control across the world. Yu bursts in with a report. Awakening is everywhere. Shinji rises, his silhouette on the wall seems gigantic. Thorbeast displays an attribute of an ancient tree. Shinji analyzes the energy patterns, noting a connection to the plant element. Mika mentions past research, confirming the boy's suspicions. Her cold attribute weakly reacts to the green glow around the trunk. The group prepares for a new phase of the battle, adjusting tactics under the captain's guidance. Ice energy bubbles out from the crack. Mika concentrates the attribute, forming crystals around her hands as Shinji watches. The boy regulates the flow of energy through the system, preventing overload. Yoshii shows interest for the first time, hiding his envy behind a mask of indifference. Mika's progress is impressive to the team. Her level is rapidly increasing, confirming the effectiveness of the captain's method. Shinji announces that they will train together. His plan involves using ice anomalies to enhance Mickey's attribute. Yoshii reluctantly joins in, realizing the benefits of teamwork. The wind around his hands faintly resonates with a cold energy. The group celebrates Mika's breakthrough. Toasts are given to her, but all eyes can't help but turn to Shinji, the true architect of the success. Yoshii bows his head to the captain, his words filled with genuine remorse, though his voice trembles with embarrassment. Shinji accepts the apology, emphasizing the importance of unity. Mika nods in approval, her trust in the boy growing. An alarm interrupts the moment. The team instantly mobilizes, following new instructions. The evacuation order catches the group off guard. Shinji scans the area, detecting synchronization of energy with the fighter's attributes. The young man makes the risky decision to stay late. His fingers quickly scroll through the hologram, calculating the optimal time to train. Yoshii and Mika exchange glances, ready to support the captain despite the danger. An alien group of cultivators threatens Shinji. Their leader scoffs, unaware of his opponent's strength. Yoshii steps forward, defending the captain's honor, eddies of wind swirling around his fist in warning. The soldier stops the conflict with a gesture. His machine gun is aimed at the neck, forcing the intruders to retreat without a word. Yoshii takes over the perimeter guard. His behavior changes dramatically. He is now a disciplined fighter. The tension eases as the enemies leave. Shinji orders everyone around him to stop. The military discusses the consequences of the restoration of spiritual energy. The chaos in the ranks highlights their unpreparedness for global changes. The captain interrupts the argument, focusing on the mutant dog's escape. His voice is harsh, cutting off any objections. Staff are ordered to increase border surveillance. The energy surge threatens stability, requiring immediate action. The discussion moves to the tactical plane. The commander distributes roles, highlighting key points for controlling the situation. The captain interrupts the argument, focusing on the mutant dog's escape. His voice is harsh, cutting off any objections. Kawasaki is given the task of neutralizing the mutant creature. His determination leaves no doubt. Failure is excluded. The rest of the group moves to the edge of the affected area. Spiritual energy complicates the task, making every step risky. Kawasaki nods, clenching his fists. He is now the central link in this dangerous operation. The commander emphasizes the urgency of the evacuation. Delay could lead to irreversible consequences for civilians. Kawasaki is given a strict deadline, until the next morning. The pressure from the command reaches its limit. The evacuation of the eastern sector is in full swing. No one knows when the mutant dog will appear, which increases anxiety. A sudden noise makes the patrol freeze. The soldiers exchange glances, ready to react immediately. An alarm breaks the silence. The group goes into full combat readiness, weapons at the ready. The captain reminds his subordinates to be careful. The world filled with spiritual energy has become unpredictable and deadly. The soldier confirms the order, demonstrating iron discipline. This is their main weapon in conditions of chaos. The captain nods approvingly. Unity and order are the only way to confront threats. Mika is instructed not to relax after training. Her progress directly affects the team's chances of survival. The captain introduces Kawasaki as an old classmate. The colleagues are surprised by the unexpected connection between the commanders. The dialogue takes on a humorous tone, but the subtext remains serious. Past relationships may impact the current mission. The remaining soldiers tactfully retreat, giving their commanders space. Uncertainties hang in the air, but questions remain unanswered. Kawasaki insists on his significant role in the captain's life. His words cause a mixture of bewilderment and curiosity among those around him. The team quickly leaves the room, leaving the two alone. The dynamics of their relationship remain a mystery, complicating their interactions. Shinji asks how Kawasaki rose to such a high position and how he was entrusted with promoting military affairs. The discussion links the mutant dog's escape to the awakening of spiritual energy. Its presence in the city is a direct threat. The captain reveals the details of the operation, keeping it secret. Information is limited to avoid panic among the population. Shinji wonders if the mutant dog you sent him and the mutant dog that caused the evacuation are connected. The civilian evacuation is complete. Captain Kawasaki gives the order to prepare for a trap for the mutant dog. The military takes up positions, camouflaging the traps. This moment will test their real capabilities in the new conditions. The captain mentions Shinji, foreseeing his future difficulties. The young man will face trials that will temper his character. Hayakawa is tasked with escorting Shinji to a safe zone, and his role in the operation becomes key to protecting the rookie. The unknown commander demands unquestioning obedience. His authority is called into question due to his connection to Kawasaki. The soldiers notice that all the new arrivals are armed. Their spiritual energy level indicates experience. Most have reached the first stage. The commander analyzes the enemy forces. The group's capabilities are impressive, but not frightening. His own team is ready for confrontation. The dialogue breaks off mid-sentence. Mistrust between the parties creates the risk of a sudden conflict at the most inopportune moment. An alarm signal warns of the mutant dog's presence. Its location remains a mystery, making the search more difficult. The military is switching to emergency response mode. Every second of delay increases the threat to the city. Captain Kawasaki mobilizes resources to try to predict the creature's route. His experience becomes the trump card in this game. The appearance of the mutant dog is suppressed by harsh measures. Order is restored, but anxiety does not disappear. The bullets eat into the mutant dog's skin, but she doesn't feel them. For her, it's just like a tickle. She opens her mouth and releases purple fire with a roar, burning everything around. The flames spread across the entire street, destroying people's homes, cars, and much more. The order to stop the action comes too late. The mutant dog has already activated a dangerous mechanism. The military is trying to minimize the damage by blocking the area of destruction. Their actions resemble a desperate race against time. The captain orders the evacuation of the remaining civilians. Risking lives for the sake of the operation is an unacceptable luxury. Shinji watches the events unfold, analyzing the military's tactics. This knowledge will be useful to him in future clashes. The operation has been suspended. It will be continued after the forces have been regrouped and the mistakes made have been analyzed. Captain Kawasaki studies the reports, planning his next move. The mutant dog is still at large, but its days are numbered. A mutant dog evolves, threatening the entire city. A special squad is ordered to enter the battle to protect civilians. The team's determination leaves no room for fear. Each fighter realizes that hundreds of lives depend on their actions. Captain Kawasaki leads the group forward, ignoring the risks. His aura of confidence makes the soldiers forget their doubts. The energy waves from the fight shake the ground, making the fight a test of strategy as well as strength. Thoughts of death pierce the fighter's mind. His hands tremble, but it is too late to retreat. Fate is being decided here and now. The cries of his comrades bring him back to reality. It's time to act, not to think about the end. The surrounding chaos recedes. The character concentrates on a single goal, to survive at any cost. The gaze is directed to the sky, as if searching for an answer. Fear mixes with rage, giving birth to unexpected determination. Suddenly, Shinji bursts in and activates his lightning technique, protecting Kawasaki from the mutant dog's attack. The threat sounds like a death sentence. The enemy underestimated Shinji's connection to those he protects. The young cultivator steps forward, his lightning attribute activating spontaneously. The air fills with static. The enemy is thrown back dozens of meters. Shinji doesn't waste words. His actions speak for themselves. Kawasaki, in shock, asks Shinji if he is also a cultivator. but right now it doesn't matter at all. Discussions are put on hold to eliminate the threat first. Shinji focuses on the mutant, ignoring the questions. One hit, and the fourth-level creature loses stability. The attack power exceeds all expectations of the team. Captain Kawasaki hides his surprise, but his eyes betray admiration. Such abilities are game-changers. Preparations for the massacre of the mutant are in full swing. Shinji demonstrates a composure that is inaccessible to newcomers. The attempt to escape is stopped instantly. Lightning strikes the target, leaving behind a smoking crater. The observers whisper about the incredible power of the attribute. Shinji remains unperturbed, as if this is just a warm-up. The mutant dog is defeated, but the battle is not over. The cultivator scans the area for hidden threats. His reputation is growing before our eyes. Now even the skeptics admit that he is not just an upstart, but a real leader. But the dog, with its body pierced and not even with half its strength, still directs its gaze towards our main hero. She jumps up and tries to reach Cindy's paws, but he remains calm because he knows what will happen in the next few seconds. He takes the knife and mixes their energies to get maximum strength and his abilities. Shinji displays a frightening level of strength despite his recent restoration of spiritual energy. His abilities surpass even military equipment, shocking those around him. Lightning and flames intertwine around his hands, creating a destructive symbiosis. Witnesses whisper about the boy's capabilities if he continues to absorb energy. Captain Kawasaki watches the attack with a mixture of pride and anxiety. Such power could be both a salvation and a threat to everyone. The allies gasp in admiration. The lightning attribute burns through steel, proving that Shinji is not limited by the standard boundaries of cultivation. The wounded soldier marvels at Shinji's hidden talents. His questions remain unanswered as the young man focuses on completing the mission. Kawasaki takes charge of clearing the area. His orders sound harsh, but his eyes show respect for his partner's abilities. Shinji ignores the praise, checking on the team's condition. Even victory doesn't change the need to take care of your allies. The medic tries to stop the young man, but he waves him off. Minor wounds are the price to pay for saving dozens of lives. The stranger inquires about Kawasaki's connection with Shinji. The commander emphasizes their absolute trust, hiding the details of their cooperation. The discussion turns to the young man's talents. The military invites him to join, but he is refused. He is already connected to the association. Kawasaki mentions Lu Jinghu, causing mixed reactions. His intention to investigate sounds like a veiled threat. The dialogue is interrupted by new information about the mutant dog. Shinji remains the center of attention, although he himself prefers to stay in the shadows. Casual conversation masks the tension. Shinji forgets about breakfast, immersed in the aftermath of the night's operation. The news about the commander's daughter is puzzling. The young man did not expect that his actions would attract such high-ranking attention. Yu advises caution. The girl's persistence could lead to unwanted political complications. Shinji brushes off the warnings. He is only interested in developing power, not in the intrigues of the elite. Someone calls our young man from a Kawasaki number. He is glad that his old friend decided to call him just to talk. Fuma Natsuiai introduces himself as Kawasaki's superior. Shinji is immediately attracted to his proposal for a fire energy zone. The young man hides his interest, but the experienced commander notices the glint in his eyes. The promise of increased strength is too tempting. Yu watches the dialogue silently. She understands that Shinji has already made his decision, despite the risks. Shinji analyzes the new data, planning his next step. His path to power is full of obstacles, but each step brings him closer to his goal. The story begins with the discovery of a fireball on a construction site. Workers mistook it for an evil spirit and called an exorcist, but the ritual only made the flames worse. The military sealed off the area, but the fire continued to grow. The fire engulfed the area, making it unsuitable for any operations. With the restoration of spiritual energy, the situation worsened. Evacuation of residents became the only way to avoid casualties. Shinji studies the reports, trying to find a connection between the anomaly and the global changes. His intuition tells him that this is not a coincidence. Captain Kawasaki is ordered to increase patrols. The fire could be a harbinger of more serious threats. Shinji asks if the fire is still spreading, and the purple-haired girl confirms it. This girl is Fua. The discussion of evacuation evolves into a conversation about creating a military unit of cultivators. Fua hints at Shinji's personal connections with Liu. Shinji denies romantic innuendos, focusing on the mission. His behavior betrays irritation. Political games distract from the main thing. The commander emphasizes the need to control the newcomers. Their spiritual energy makes them dangerous if left unsupervised. The girl mentions the behavioral problems of experienced cultivators. Their independence complicates the formation of disciplined units. Fua offers Shinji the chance to lead the training of new recruits. In exchange, he promises benefits, but the young man declines the offer. The girl praises her friend's integrity. His words hide his pride. Shinji remains true to his goals. The discussion turns to the Cultivators Association. Shinji intends to see their project through to success before taking on any more responsibilities. Fua accepts the refusal, but does not hide his disappointment. The military is losing the chance to gain such a valuable ally. The captain notices the tension and changes the subject. It's time to get back to fighting the fire anomaly. Chaos at the edge of the evacuation zone as people try to break through barriers, ignoring warnings of danger. The soldiers block the passage, but the crowd does not retreat. The tension is growing. A little more, and there will be a crush. A stranger appears, mocking Shinji's connection to Liu, his provocations aimed at causing division within the team. He sees the couple Lin and Yuko standing together near the crowd, looking towards Shinji and making some sarcastic comments. The boy threatens Shinji, blaming him for the failure of his relationship with Lin. His words are full of venom and jealousy. The young man remains calm, analyzing the motives of the attacker. Perhaps this is a trap to distract him from the mission. The girl intervenes, covering her friend's back. His authority forces the lovers to temporarily retreat. The appearance of the purple-haired girl changes the dynamic of the conversation. Her interest in Shinji is obvious. She sees potential in him. The stranger compares the young man to a warrior of pure love, causing laughter among those around him. The joke diffuses the situation. Shinji ignores the provocations, asking a direct question about Nakai's connection to the anomaly. His directness takes everyone by surprise. Shinji notices that Nakai is hiding information. It's time to move on to tough negotiations. The character is furious at being rejected, and his anger is directed at the woman whose beauty he believes breeds arrogance. She vows revenge, no matter the consequences. The threats sound like an attempt to restore her self-esteem. The second character inadvertently draws attention by apologizing for his habit of watching. His excuses only increase the tension. The first hero snorts dismissively. Without money, he says, such a person would have long been rejected by society. On-site inspection confirms that the fire anomaly is intensifying. Expansion of the evacuation zone is inevitable. Captain Fua points to the source of the fire energy concentration, his words supported by data from the instruments. Shinji silently studies the map of the zone. Every decision is now critical. A mistake will lead to disaster. The discussion moves on to finding emergency measures. There is almost no time left for reflection. A special device records the growth of spiritual energy. The team is forced to expand the quarantine zone to 10 kilometers. The order causes confusion among the soldiers. Such measures seem excessive to them, but there are no alternatives. Shinji approaches the epicenter, ignoring the warnings. His lightning attribute is weak to the fire element. Kawasaki tries to stop the boy, but he already disappears into the smoke. All that remains is to hope for his luck. Panic grips the command post as officers struggle to contain the out-of-control blaze. Questions to the commander remain unanswered. His silence suggests that the situation was planned in advance. Shinji appears at the door, his clothes singed, holding a strange artifact that radiates heat. Kawasaki grabs the device. The readings are off the charts. The artifact may be the key to suppressing the anomaly. The sensors detect record levels of fiery energy. The system offers Shinji to absorb it, but he hesitates. The young man analyzes the risks. It is unknown whether his body can withstand such a load, even taking into account the unique attribute. Shinji makes a decision. His fingers tighten around the artifact, and a bright flash illuminates the entire area. Fua advises to proceed with caution. Her experience tells her that haste is deadly now. The girl admires the progress. Perhaps the young man is capable of reaching even the 6th stage in the future. The fire energy level reaches the 2nd stage. The system rewards Shinji with a new skill that enhances his attribute. Shinji gains the unique technique Eternal Sacred Flame, reaching a new level of mastery. The gold attribute greatly increases his potential. The system rewards the young man with bonus points for his first gold skill. This discovery changes his approach to training. The team watches in amazement as his aura transforms. Even the experienced fighters can't hide their admiration for the scale of the energy absorbed. Shinji absorbs the remaining fire energy, shocking those around him. His body can withstand a load that ordinary cultivators would not be able to handle. Fuo whispers in confusion. Is he really the incarnation of the fire god? Doubts are mixed with concern for his friend. The young man ignores the questions, analyzing the changes in his attribute. Each cell is filled with uncontrollable power. The military records abnormal energy readings. The data is sent to the highest command for urgent analysis. Shinji feels the flames pulsing through his veins. Controlling them requires immediate meditation. Hua checks on Shinji's condition after absorbing the energy, her voice shaking with a mixture of relief and worry. The young man insists that everything is fine, but the paleness of his face says otherwise. The overload is making itself felt. She looks at her device and sees very strange indicators on it. What do they mean? She sees her device catching fire and ready to explode here. She throws the sensor away from herself. Our protagonist grabs her and hugs her, hiding her from the shards behind his back. Hua looks at him with loving eyes and admits that she would do a lot to have this guy touch her more often. The military demands an explanation for the energy absorbed. Shinji names his level as the 4th stage of the boiling spring. The officers can't believe their ears. Such strength for a rookie is an incredible achievement, bordering on the absurd. The young man is evasive about his training methods, his secrets remaining a mystery even to his closest allies. Hua interrupts the interrogation, reminding them of their priorities. It's time to get back to evacuating and reinforcing the barriers. Shinji notices a spark of interest in the officer's eyes. Perhaps his abilities will become the subject of new experiments. The military once again offers Shinji to join their ranks, promising benefits. The young man categorically refuses, loyal to the association. Hua supports the decision, but warns that the reports will raise questions from high command. Shinji shrugs indifferently. His goals are higher than political games, to become stronger, to protect his loved ones. The officer leaves, promising not to press. However, his eyes show calculation. He will return with new arguments. Liu asks you to help eliminate the anomaly. The girl agrees, but sets a condition: complete autonomy in actions. The team prepares equipment to suppress the fire. Every step is coordinated with the young man. He is now the main strategist. Shinji wakes up in the morning and smells the fresh, delicious food, saying that yes, you can definitely cook well. Hua shows up unexpectedly at Shinji's house, citing military necessity. Her visit violates Shinji's personal boundaries. The boy expresses indignation, demanding an explanation. His voice trembles with distrust of the intruder's motives. The military woman calmly justifies the registration of the house as a strategic move. Her arguments sound convincing, but cold. Shinji refuses to accept this intrusion. He wants to ask you how she feels about the situation, but her room is empty. Hua switches to a proposal of cooperation, his words mixing businesslike manner with a subtle threat. He analyzes the situation, noting traces of haste. Every detail indicates careful planning of the escape. The soldier examines the abandoned items, trying to reconstruct the chain of events. His suspicions fall on his allies. The announcement of the extermination mission makes him frown. The plan clearly has pitfalls. Shinji decides to go it alone, ignoring protocols. The risk is worth it if the goal is so important. An emergency call forces the team to drop everything. The panic in the dispatcher's voice indicates the criticality of the situation. The girl thinks about everything, realizing that it is impossible to cope without Shinji. His absence puts everyone at risk. Yu tries to take the initiative, but her authority is not enough. There is a feeling of hopelessness in the air. Yu notices subtle symbols around the edges. Her guess changes her perception of the entire situation. She shatters a huge energy shard underwater and tries to avoid the shards from it in the water. She is glad that she was able to do it herself, without anyone's help, so she proved her strength. But suddenly a large shadow falls on the crystal, which means not very good news. Something is nearby, and it is moving here. Her eyes widened at what had taken her by surprise, and she was trying to run away from here as far as possible. She turns around to see a huge fish opening its mouth and preparing to attack her, swallowing her in one gulp. An unexplained phenomenon causes alarm among observers. Spiritual energy pulsates abnormally, disrupting the usual balance of forces. A group of cultivators are discussing what is happening. Their instruments are registering instability, but the source of the threat remains unclear. Yu panics and tries to stabilize the barrier. Her efforts only temporarily hold back the growing pressure. The monster's shadow absorbs Shinji's spiritual energy. The young man realizes that every moment gives the enemy new strength. She reaches up, trying to break the connection with the creature. The tension reaches a critical point. The tentacle hits Yu's skull, causing her to squirt blood and pass out underwater. Yu looks at the approaching shadow in horror, thoughts of imminent death paralyzing his will to resist. Shinji pushes him away, taking the blow himself. The lightning forms a shield, but its fragility is obvious. Yu screams, warning of another attack, her voice lost in the roar of collapsing buildings. The guy coordinates the retreat, but the escape routes are blocked. All that remains is to fight to the end. The injured Yu is taken to a safe zone. Her condition is alarming. Her spiritual energy is almost depleted. Shinji vows to deal with the culprits, his cold gaze promising merciless retribution. He stays by her bedside, analyzing data about the monster. Every move the girl makes is recorded by the system. The commander thanks Shinji for saving his daughter, his words mixing sincerity with political calculation. The discussion turns to the nature of the monster. The shadow, called the Devourer, lurked in the depths for 6 months. The man reveals the details of the mission. The lack of information about the creature's true form complicates the development of a strategy. Shinji asks questions, revealing contradictions in the reports. His analytical skills impress even skeptics. The young man agrees to help, but demands complete autonomy. The commander reluctantly accepts the conditions. The secret of the monster is revealed. It uses darkness for camouflage and draws power from the ocean depths. The restoration of spiritual energy made him invulnerable. Normal attacks only temporarily slow the creature. Shinji studies the energy flow patterns. His plan involves a risky breakthrough to the epicenter of the anomaly. Natsuki explains to her grandfather the necessity of the risky mission, her reasoning based on the military's previous failure to deal with the threat. The commander emphasizes Shinji's uniqueness as the only one who can resist the shadow. The choice fell on him for a reason. The other candidates turned out to be weak. Natsuki expresses doubt, fearing for the boy's life. Her words reflect concern, but her grandfather remains adamant. 3 elite fighters are assigned to provide support. Their skills should offset the risks, but there is no guarantee of success. The tension in the room is growing. The decision has been made, and it is too late to back out. Restoring spiritual energy changes the world order. Lagging behind in developing anomalous zones threatens national security. The A-class zone becomes a test for a show of force. The success of the mission will strengthen the country's position in the international arena. The captain reminds everyone of the importance of caution. His words are addressed to Shinji, but they sound like general advice to everyone. The young man nods, hiding his excitement. The pressure is enormous, but he has no other choice. Preparations for landing at the port are in full swing. Kaori is missing. Her level is insufficient for the current task. The captain checks the readiness of the fighters, emphasizing discipline. The military's help should simplify the operation. The soldier vows not to let his team down. His zeal is mixed with nervousness. This is the first serious challenge. Shinji arrives at the scene, surveying the area. His experience tells him that the real threat will exceed all predictions. The boy mocks the team's youth, and his disdain for Shinji angers his allies. The mention of the 4th level of Boiling Spring makes Karaki frown. He didn't expect such strength from a newbie. The dialogue turns into conflict. Tensions between the military and the cultivators threaten to derail the mission. Shinji remains unperturbed, his calm contrasting with the emotionality of the others. The group leader tries to smooth over the conflict. His words are aimed at uniting the team in the face of a common threat. The guy reluctantly retreats, hiding his irritation. Cooperation is necessary, but mutual distrust remains. Shinji ignores the provocations, focusing on the plan, his authority gradually overpowering the disagreements. The team moves towards the goal. The first steps in the zone make everyone tense up. Danger is felt in every step. Shinji feels the darkness sucking spiritual energy from his body. The corrosive effect of the attribute instantly weakens the team. The boy scans his surroundings, trying to find the source of the threat. His lightning attribute pulses weakly, overwhelmed by the monster's aura. A shadow in the distance shifts, becoming a blur. The group prepares for the worst-case scenario. The smell of rot penetrates even underwater, causing nausea in the fighters. The captain warns, a long stay here is mortally dangerous. Shinji blocks the effects of the darkness, stabilizing his energy flow. His actions temporarily neutralize the threat to his allies. The captain jokes about the possibility of panic among the newcomers, but there is tension in his voice. The young man ignores the sarcasm, concentrating on tactics. Spiritual energy pulses unevenly, creating the risk of a sudden breach of defense. The team regroups, preparing for an attack. Mika activates the ice attribute, slowing the spread of the dark aura. Her efforts give the group a break. The energy barrier cracks under the pressure of darkness. The boy shouts a warning, but his words are drowned out by the roar of the monster. The boy pushes his ally away, taking the blow himself. Lightning flashes, forming a temporary shield. The illusion dissipates, revealing tentacles lashing out from the darkness. The group retreats, breaking formation. The captain coordinates a counterattack, but the level 5 monster exceeds all expectations. Its power explains the failure of the previous missions. Shinji stops the panicking fighter. His voice sounds harsh, observe, and do not act blindly. The illusion of the monster dissolves, revealing its true form, a giant kraken with eyes full of hatred. The tentacles grab the nearest soldier. Shinji lunges forward, cutting through the darkness with a flash of lightning. The boy nods, gathering energy in his palms. A blinding discharge burns through the monster's flesh, forcing it to retreat. The boy mocks the crew's inexperience until the tentacles grab him. His arrogance turns to horror. Shinji reacts with lightning speed, cutting off the dark tentacles. Kuraki falls to his knees, shocked by the youth's strength. The captain shouts, "Level 5. Now it is clear why the previous squads were defeated." Mika strengthens her barrier, blocking more attacks. Her face pales with the effort, but she holds on. Mika charges in desperation, ignoring orders. His wind blades are useless against the monster's armor. Kawasaki grabs him by the collar, dragging him to a safe area. "Fool, you'll ruin everyone," he growls. Mika finishes preparing the technique. Golden flames envelop him, neutralizing the darkness around him. The monster roars, feeling threatened. The tentacles thrash about in panic, but it's too late. Mika reports to the captain about the successful completion of the mission. His voice sounds confident, but the trembling in his hands betrays his fatigue. The team freezes, watching the aftermath of the explosion. The monster's shadow dissipates, leaving behind only ash and silence. The boy nods approvingly, hiding his relief. The young man's risky tactics paid off, although the price could have been higher. Mika checks the status of the barriers. Her ice attribute is weakening, but the threat is gone, she can catch her breath. Kuraki didn't take, and the rest of the people are finished off by the octopus. Everyone except Mick reached the tentacle. The tentacle breaks through Mickey's defense, shaking the barrier and breaking it into many pieces. The tip of the tentacle is almost right next to her, preparing to kill her right now. She looks at this and thinks that this is probably where her end will come, from this monster. But suddenly some yellow glow illuminates her, and the tentacle does not reach the girl. Discussion of Shinji's attribute is confusing. His flames are different from standard fire, pulsating with a golden glow. The boy analyzes the data, noting the abnormal energy density. Perhaps this is due to the boy's unique system. The monster, feeling threatened, tries to counterattack. The tentacles twitch in convulsions, but can no longer cause harm. Shinji activates the new technique promised by the system. The air fills with heat, forcing his allies to retreat to a safe distance. Golden flames envelop the shadow, dissolving its flesh. Even the captain does not hide his admiration for the scale of the destruction. Trying to pierce the monster with a sword seems futile to everyone. They think that it will break as soon as it touches the armored body of the creature. Kuraki shouts a warning, but Shinji has already acted. His fingers tighten around the artifact, activating the holy fire technique. A blinding flash burns through the darkness, reaching the core of the monster. An attack that seemed insane becomes the key to victory. The team watches in amazement as the creature disintegrates. Even a level 5 is not enough to withstand this power. The flames completely engulf the underwater monster, turning it into a fried octopus. All that can be heard is the death roar that pierces the entire water space around. Everyone around is shocked by Shinji's strength, and our main character puts on a poker face. This is a common thing for him. The commander emphasizes Shinji's exceptionalism, comparing him to the moon, unreachable by ordinary cultivators. His words provoke a mixture of envy and anxiety among the military. Kuraki disagrees, pointing out the boy's lack of formal training, but is silenced by arguments about Shinji's potential. The discussion turns to a strategy for winning the young man over to one's side. The risk of hostility towards him is considered unacceptable. His strength exceeds all current resources. Watching Mika's composure in a dangerous situation, Kuraki can't help but admire her fortitude. Her level of third stage is impressive considering her age. Comparisons with Shinji make him bitter. The realization of his own limitations makes him reconsider his attitude towards the team. The conversation is interrupted by a joke about sharing drinks. The tension eases, but mistrust still hangs in the air. Kuraki apologizes to Shinji, admitting his wrongdoing. His gesture of respect changes the dynamics within the group. The young man accepts the apology, emphasizing common goals. His modesty contrasts with the power he displays. The team quickly leaves the area to escape the suffocating smell. The captain lingers, discovering an anomaly that requires investigation. Finding Stardew flowers becomes an unexpected advantage. Their properties can enhance Mickey and use attributes, which is critical for future missions. He picks them for himself and takes them with him to the surface, already thinking about how he will use them. Shinji scans the area, noting the absence of the crew. Being alone in a dangerous area is alarming, but curiosity gets the better of him. Shinji is taken aback by Takedo Light's appearance. The bodyguard introduces himself with cold politeness, handing over a business card with his contact information. His connection to the commander's daughter, Fuwa Natsuki, adds a layer of political intrigue. Shinji analyzes the hidden motives behind this visit. Takedo reveals the details. Mika is already safe, and Kuraki is returning to base. A meeting with the commander is inevitable. This is a new challenge. Shinji assesses the bodyguard's strength. His attributes are hidden, but experience tells him he is a stage 6 opponent. Commander Fuwa invites Shinji for a private conversation, his interest in the boy's abilities reinforced by data on fire energy absorption. The man introduces himself as Natsuki's grandfather, confirming his connection to the military elite. The question about storing power inside the body sounds more like a test than curiosity. Shinji keeps his cool, avoiding details. His answers are terse, but the commander senses hidden potential behind the modesty. The conversation turns to global change, with Fuwa hinting at the need to join forces in the face of new threats. The young man analyzes the hidden motives of his interlocutor. Every word of the commander is aimed at recruitment, but there is no overt pressure. Fuwa notes Shinji's uniqueness in the world of restored spiritual energy. His power, developed without the support of structures, is both admirable and disturbing. The commander compares the current reality to chaos, where ordinary people are powerless. The offer of cooperation sounds like a call to responsibility. Shinji dismisses the praise as luck, but the old man sees strategic caution behind it, not false modesty. The mention of his granddaughter reveals Fuwa's personal interest. His assessment of Shinji as level-headed implicitly approves of Natsuki's choice. The conversation ends with a hint of upcoming trials. The commander leaves the question open, giving the young man time to think. Fuwa reveals the dangers of the dark attribute, which can turn living beings into monsters. His explanations are supported by data from past missions. Shinji's lightning is called a key weapon against the threat. The commander emphasizes that the growth of the youth's strength is critical to the country's security. The boy agrees to step up his training, but his eyes are filled with distrust. Fuwa's political games may have other goals. The old man eases the pressure by turning the conversation to practical matters. The energy control advice sounds sincere, but the duality remains. Shinji leaves, thinking about what he's heard. Promising to dedicate himself to training is not only a duty, but a personal challenge. Fuwa hands Shinji a hardened military phone. The device allows him to instantly contact command in an emergency. The young man suddenly asks for help with a weapon. His sword, a gift from the association chairman, cannot withstand the load of spiritual energy. The commander examines the broken blade, noting the rare alloy. The promise to create stronger examples confirms the seriousness of the intentions. The conversation switches to technical details. Hua's engineers are already working on adapting the weapon to Shinji's unique attributes. The farewell takes place on a businesslike note. The old man reminds us that the telephone is not only a communication tool, but also a symbol of trust. Shinji returns to base, reflecting on the meeting. His thoughts are interrupted by an urgent message about Yu's problems. Her attribute has gone out of control. The young man rushes to the scene, ignoring the protocols. The alarm in the reporter's voice indicates the seriousness of the situation. Yu is in critical condition. Her vital signs are deteriorating rapidly. The dark attribute of spiritual energy is destroying her body from the inside, causing a coma. Doctors argue about treatment methods. Trying to extract energy can provoke an uncontrolled release, but inaction will lead to death. Chairman Liu blames himself for what happened. His trembling hands betray his despair. Saving his daughter seems impossible. Shinji rushes into the room, ignoring the doctor's protests. His system activates a search for a solution, analyzing energy patterns. The young man orders everyone to be evacuated except Liu. The risk of the procedure is too great to endanger outsiders. Liu explains the connection between the dark attribute and Yu's self-doubt. Her desire to prove her worth led to a fatal error. Shinji studies the data, noting the energy is unstable. His system requires physical contact for accurate diagnosis. The chairman doubts the young man's methods, but agrees to the experiment. Every second of delay reduces the chances of success. Liu freezes, watching the process, his hopes now entirely dependent on the stranger's abilities. The doctors try to force Shinji out, believing his intervention to be dangerous. Their screams mix with the beeps of the medical equipment. The young man ignores the complaints, focusing on the system. The lightning around him intensifies, suppressing the resistance of the staff. Liu ends the conflict by asserting Shinji's authority. His authority causes the medics to back down, although mistrust remains. The procedure continues. The dark energy resists, forming vortices that hit the walls of the chamber. The medic demands an explanation, but Shinji continues his work in silence. His fingers tremble with tension, but his contact with Yu remains intact. Liu threatens to fire those who interfere with the process. His eyes are full of rage. He is ready to take extreme measures for the sake of his daughter. Shinji orders the room cleared. Those remaining risk being hit by residual energy when the procedure is completed. The boy agrees, strengthening the barrier around them both. The final phase of the treatment requires absolute concentration. Liu gives the order to carry out all of Shinji's demands. His voice is shaky, but his authority is unquestionable. The medics leave the room, leaving their equipment behind. Their faces reflect a mixture of fear and curiosity. Shinji completes the procedure, his strength waning. Drops of blood fall to the floor, but the result is achieved. Yu is saved. Liu thanks the young man, offering any resources the association can muster. His words sound like an oath of allegiance. Shinji declines help, stating that she needs to rest. Her body needs to recover from the overload. Shinji vows to bring his loved one back to life, his voice shaking with a mixture of determination and fear of possible loss. Lightning around his hands pulses, reflecting the internal struggle. Every second of hesitation seems like an eternity, but there is no retreat. The guy greets the girl and congratulates her on waking up. She finally came to her senses. He asks her now not to do any more stupid and senseless, as well as bold actions. Yu regains consciousness. Her first question is directed at Shinji. The girl doubts her value, considering herself a burden to the team. The young man explains how the Stardew flowers helped neutralize the darkness. His words sound calm, but his eyes show fatigue from overexertion. Yu compares their strengths, reproaching himself for his weakness. Shinji reminds her that her level of the third stage makes her one of the strongest in the world. The dialogue is interrupted by a joke about her ambitions. The girl admits that she dreamed of surpassing even Chairman Liu, but now doubts it. Shinji gently cuts off her self-criticism. His faith in her is unwavering, as is his willingness to support her in any situation. Shinji announces the start of rehabilitation training. The forest on the outskirts is chosen as an area where they will not be disturbed by strangers. Yu nods, hiding her excitement. Her fingers instinctively tighten around the amulet, a symbol of hope for her recovery. We see you training with a mutant wolf. All this happens under the leadership of our main character. Shinji walks away, leaving the team alone with their thoughts. His silhouette fades into the twilight, a promise of new challenges. The level 5 mutant wolf falls from one blow from you. His body crumbles into ashes, confirming the girl's growth and strength. Yu claps her hands in admiration. Her words about moving up to stage 4 sound sincere, but Shinji waves off the praise. The training ends early. The group returns to base, hearing explosions that cut through the silence of the forest. Sensors detect a surge of dark energy deep in the forest. The system warns of a threat greater than any before. Shinji scans the area, noting abnormal fluctuations. His lightning attribute activates spontaneously, reacting to the danger. Yu clutches her heart, feeling the pressure of darkness. Her face turns pale, but she is ready to follow the captain to the end. Yudo and Koyuki discuss Lin's strange behavior after meeting the mysterious woman. The young man jokes, but there is a hint of jealousy in his tone. Lin silently gathers firewood, ignoring her friend's taunts. Her thoughts are occupied by the image of the stranger who has captured her imagination. Lin offers to help Koyuki with the tent, but Yudo is distracted by memories. His enthusiastic descriptions of beauty only increase his friend's curiosity. Yudo admits that the image of the woman has haunted him for several days. His words mix admiration with annoyance at his own infatuation. Koyuki teases his friend, causing him to become embarrassed. The evening camp is filled with laughter, masking unspoken emotions. Lin continues to work silently, her fingers nervously breaking dry branches. The encounter with the stranger has clearly shaken her more than she cares to admit. The boy suddenly goes quiet, noticing a strange shadow behind the trees. His joking mood turns to caution. News of a global restoration of spiritual energy is causing a stir. Experts predict an era of unprecedented opportunities and dangers. An unknown man in a mask proclaims himself the future king of a new era. His manifesto sounds like a challenge to all existing powers. Lin clenches her fists, remembering the humiliation from the woman. Her ambitions collide with the fear of losing again. Yuta watches the broadcast, his usual nonchalance giving way to anxiety. Clouds of change are gathering on the horizon. Lin experiences a surge of energy during training, her water attribute pulsating brighter in response to changes in the world around her. Koyuki notices a strange glow, but decides not to interrupt her friend. Her intuition tells her that this is a breakthrough that will change their group. Yudo drops the branches he's gathered, amazed by Lin's strength. His envy mixes with pride for his ally. The young cultivator falls to her knees, exhausted. Her first experience of controlling the new energy comes at the cost of enormous effort. A pack of mutant wolves surrounds the camp. Yudo covers Koyuki, his usual carefree manner giving way to combat focus. Lin tries to activate the attribute, but her strength is running out. Her cry of warning is drowned out by the growls of the creatures. Koyuki freezes in horror as he watches the predator's abnormal speed. The question of human limits hangs in the air, unanswered. Yudo knocks back the first wave with a blow from his staff, but the pack does not retreat. The situation becomes critical. Yudo freezes with his mouth open, recognizing that very beauty. His admiration is mixed with shame for his own helplessness. Lin grips her blade in rage, seeing her salvation in the hands of her rival. Her ambitions take another blow, but her resolve only grows stronger. The stranger disappears, leaving the group confused. The air is filled with the smell of ozone and dark energy. Mutant wolves infected with dark energy are causing concern for the group. Their uncontrolled aggression threatens not only the forest, but also the nearby settlements. You suggest reporting to Chairman Liu immediately. Her pragmatism clashes with Shinji's caution, who prefers to gather data first. Yu scans the energy signatures, noting the abnormal density of darkness. Her fingers tremble, the experience of past encounters making itself felt. Shinji reminds Commander Fuwa of his promise. Civilian safety remains a priority, even if it slows down the operation. Traces of a recent camp are found near the contaminated area. An extinguished fire and abandoned items indicate a hasty escape. Yu examines the remains of the tent, finding claw marks. The size of the marks suggests that the mutants are larger than normal wolves. Yu finds traces of blood leading deeper into the forest. Her suggestion to check them is controversial. The risk of encountering an alpha is too great. The boy suddenly freezes, hearing a growl. His hand involuntarily reaches for his weapon, but everything around him is quiet for now. The appearance of another stranger shocks the group. His beauty and the power of his aura leave even Shinji momentarily speechless. Yuto tries to joke, offering to drink together. His bravado hides his admiration, but the woman ignores the provocations. The stranger demonstrates a level comparable to the previous opponent. Her gaze is full of contempt for the weaklings who invaded her domain. The woman brags about her past victory over Shinji. Her words are full of venom, but the boy remains cool, analyzing his weak points. The guy asks a provocative question about her cultivation method. The answer shocks everyone. She absorbed the attributes of defeated enemies. Shinji notices traces of feedback in his energy. Such a risky method should have fatal consequences, but she seems unharmed. Shinji accuses the woman of intentionally releasing the infected wolves. Her indifference to innocent lives infuriates the young man. She ridicules his weak principles. According to her, strength justifies any sacrifice, a philosophy alien to the entire team. Yuto charges forward, but her wind sends him flying like a splinter. The failure only proves the difference in skill level. The boy scoffs at the group's attempts, calling them childish. Her aura explodes into a dark glow, sweeping away all barriers. Shinji parries the blow using a sword enhanced by command. The metal cracks but holds up under the strain, a testament to the quality of the modifications. The world witnesses a sharp increase in spiritual energy. A fruit accidentally discovered in the mountains becomes the key to the evolution of the common man. The youth absorbs the fruit's energy, his lightning attribute is activated spontaneously. The strength indicators reach the second stage of the boiling spring. People around you whisper about incredible luck. The restoration of energy changes the rules of the game, opening the way for new leaders. The mysterious fighter easily repels Yuto's attacks. His movements are precise, as if he anticipates his opponent's every move. The young man, in desperation, increases the force of his blows, but in vain. The opponent's shields remain undamaged, as if made of adamant. The mockery in the stranger's voice hurts more than the blades. Yuto understands that his skills are just dust compared to the true masters. Shinji watches the fight, analyzing the fighting style. His system detects weak points, but it is too early to intervene. The cultivator boy humiliates Yuto by comparing him to a newbie. His words burn stronger than fire, leaving scars on his pride. Yuto falls to his knees, unable to rise. The realization of his own weakness paralyzes his will to resist. Yuko frowns, noting the imbalance of power. Such clashes are dangerous, sowing discord among allies. Lin and the others try to help, but her ice spikes melt a meter away from their target. The difference in levels is insurmountable without outside intervention. Shinji defeats Yuto in a training battle, shocking the onlookers. His progress seems incredible in such a short time. Yuto's ex-girlfriend regrets the breakup. Her eyes are full of envy, now she understands who she lost. The team receives orders to detain the suspects. The mountain range is blocked for fear of information leaking about new artifacts. Suddenly, some kind of epiphany comes to Yuto, some kind of vision. Everything suddenly becomes dark. The masked shadow offers a deal power in exchange for loyalty. His voice sounds like the whisper of a demon tempting a soul. Yuto clenches his fists, agreeing to the terms. Shinji's thirst for revenge clouds his mind, causing him to forget about principles. Dark energy envelopes his body, altering his DNA at the cellular level. Pain becomes the price for the promised power. The new power turns Yuto into a tool of the association. His wind attribute is now poisoned by darkness, capable of corroding flesh. He vows to humiliate Shinji by forcing him to kneel. The words sound hollow, like someone else's voice. You detect changes in Yuto's energy. Alarming data is sent to command. The threat has gotten out of control. Suddenly, Yuto explodes with his hellish dark purple energy and hits all his friends around him with this liquid. Shinji and you put their hands forward, so that all this dark and dirty energy didn't touch them. He loses his human form and turns into just a purple goo. Shinji stands in confusion as he watches the sudden changes around him. The air fills with a thick energy, signaling the awakening of an ancient power. An unknown creature materializes from the darkness, its voice echoing across the landscape. The return to the world is accompanied by spatial distortions that break the usual laws of physics. The boy retreats, instinctively feeling the threat. His fingers grip the hilt of the sword, but there is no certainty of victory. The enemy exceeds all expectations. Finally, after absorbing all of Yudo's friends, the demon himself, who deceived the foolish Yudo, appears from the ground. The demon's level rapidly increases from the second to the fourth stage. The creature's body deforms, becoming covered with spikes and black patterns resembling runes. Shinji's system identifies the threat as a lesser Dark Lord. The reward for defeating him includes a new attribute slot, underscoring the seriousness of the enemy. The demon disparages the group, calling their energy insufficient. Only Shinji and Yudo's attributes are of interest, absorbing them promises to restore strength. The demon's first attack is blocked by Shinji, but the recoil nearly knocks him off his feet. Lightning crackles, stabilizing the protective barrier at the last moment. The boy demands answers about Yudo's fate, but the creature only smirks. Its movements become faster, leaving behind a trail of dark mist. The demon refuses to engage in dialogue, scoffing at attempts at negotiation. Its aura thickens, forming blades of pure darkness, ready to pierce the defense. Shinji activates the golden flame, creating a wave of light. The collision of energies causes an explosion, blinding everyone for several seconds. Yu uses the moment to strengthen her barrier, her water attribute merging with lightning to form an electric shield around her allies. The group's attacks bounce off the demon's armor without leaving a scratch. The creature mocks their efforts, comparing them to raindrops. Yu changes tactics, focusing on mobility. Her lightning burns the dark blades, but each strike requires a huge expenditure of energy. The demon parries the combined attack, his voice sounding disappointed. "Is that all?" he asks, spreading his arms in a dramatic gesture. Shinji ignores the provocations, analyzing the enemy's movement patterns. The system detects a weak point, a scar on his chest, hidden under his armor. He breaks out of the monster, ripping it to pieces, and asks if this is all he can do. The chapter ends here.